Okay, so my fiancé and I have a bit of weird history together. We first met as family friends. Then our parents had an affair and destroyed two families to create their own perfect blended family. The thing is, when my father was caught with his mother, his father, who came from a powerful political family, went guano-crazy nuclear on my father and stopped at nothing to ruin his life. He destroyed his career and basically made my father an outcast in the community. My father had to struggle a lot to get back on his feet to support me and his new baby with his new wife. My mother, on the other hand, got remarried to her high school sweetheart after a few years. His father got remarried a couple of years later. Growing up, I lived primarily with my mom and he with his dad. We actually reconnected 4 years ago at our half-sister's memorial service. We instantly hit it off and became great friends. After a year of us being friends, we both realized we had feelings for each other. We also acknowledged that the feelings we had were probably wrong because of our parents' relationship. We felt like we were stepping into the I territory. When I talked to my mom about it, she told me that my feelings for him weren't wrong. She encouraged me to go ahead, and that's what I did. Long story short, we started dating and our relationship became pretty serious really soon. I met his dad. Yeah, the one who destroyed my father's life, and his entire paternal family. His stepmom was very warm to me. I met his younger half-sister, his parental grandparents, aunts, uncles, everyone. He met my mom, stepdad, my half-siblings, and my mom's entire extended family. We soon had a secret engagement party which didn't involve my dad and his mom. We actually hid our relationship from them all this time because we were worried about their reaction. His mom has always hated me. Anyway, we already had a wedding date set, and the plan was to tell them a week before our wedding we are getting married in April. Unfortunately, they came to know about our relationship from an Instagram post that his cousin made. So now I know that they stalk his dad's family members. Well, all hell broke loose. My stepmom is going around telling everyone that I stole her son and that we are committing I. My father has accused my fiancé of trying to ruin their marriage. According to them, by getting married, we are disrespecting the memories of our dead half-sister. My father also feels I'm marrying him only to get back at him. He tells me that I'm an awful daughter for marrying into the evil, powerful, satanic family that ruined his life. My extended family on my father's side also believes I'm betraying my father on multiple fronts. So am I really? Am I the idiot and my fiancé? Okay guys, so what do you think? Is OP an idiot for marrying her stepbrother? I think OP is definitely not the idiot. Also, her fiancé didn't ruin her dad's life. His affair ruined his own life and caused trauma for OP's husband through his own parents' marriage. I think the dad sounds like quite the narcissist, blaming everyone else for his own mistakes. I am just shocked how entitled OP's dad and stepmom are. What do you think, guys? Backstory. My wife and I have 2 kids, 9 female, 4 male. My wife got pregnant very easily. Our first kid was even an oops baby. She had relatively easy pregnancies comparatively, and extremely easy labor comparatively. No major complications or anything like that. On the other hand, my brother and his wife have been trying for years and had to endure medical surgeries for my sister-in-law and utilize IVF in order to finally get pregnant after spending who knows how much money. So when they finally got pregnant, they made it a much bigger deal than I would say is typical, even for a first baby for a couple. For example, their baby shower. Instead of being sort of typical with close friends and family at like someone's house and opening gifts and such, was at this very expensive venue with extravagant catering, and it was formal attire, and they didn't even open presents. My wife was involved in the planning for this, and it was during this that she started to kind of get annoyed with my sister-in-law. She would plan certain events and fun typical baby games, and it would get shot down by my sister-in-law, and she would basically replace it with her own idea. So that whole event left a bit of a sour taste for this whole pregnancy ever since. Otherwise, everyone in our family has been supportive and excited. The baby is due at the end of this month. So last night, my wife received a Facebook message thread, including my parents and other family, from my sister-in-law that said in order for any of us to see the baby, either in the hospital or after she's born, or later back at home, We would need to bring our vaccination records to show that we're up to date on certain vaccinations and have gotten our seasonal flu shot. My wife lost it. She started saying how completely insane my sister-in-law and brother are being, and basically is over the pregnancy and doesn't care to meet our nephew. While I said I agree they are being a bit on the extreme side, I can sort of understand how they're like extra precautious because of everything they've been through to even get pregnant. And in all reality, this is probably their one and only chance. They can't afford to go through IVF again, and my sister-in-law is too old. It would be high risk anyway. My entire family, including the kids, are all up to date on our shots, so it's not like it would be hard to comply. We would just need to get our records. I also said I can understand in this day and age, with the anti-vax community, you never know who has what, so I can see being careful around strangers. But they should trust family members that we wouldn't put our own family, the baby, in harm's way. But overall, I sort of understand why they're being careful, and it's no big deal. Well, she took this as me siding with them over her. She's been angry with me ever since. Am I the idiot? Edit. While my wife didn't explicitly say it, just knowing her well enough, I think the reason she's upset isn't because they are asking for vaccination paperwork in general, but asking us and my parents. We are pretty close. We all live like 30 minutes away and see them frequently and at every holiday. They watch our kids, we watch their dog, etc. There's always been full trust between us, and I think she feels insulted that we're not being trusted. I don't know if that changes anything. Edit 2. Just to make things clear. 1. No, sister-in-law has no good reason to think we would lie about being vaccinated, or anything else for that matter. Once again, we're all really close. If anyone in the family was an anti-vaxxer, we would all know. And there's no previous issue with trust that has ever existed. 2. No, we did not ensure family was up to date on shots when our kids were born. I feel like the whole anti-vax thing wasn't as prevalent at the time maybe. It was a while ago, don't exactly recall. 3. It is highly unlikely that my wife is jealous of the baby shower or attention of the pregnancy. She's a total introvert and would rather die than have the type of baby shower my sister-in-law had. It was more the fact that my sister-in-law rejected all her ideas and basically planned it herself. 4. I probably shot myself in the foot on this one with the title, but I didn't really take a side. At least I wouldn't consider it that. It's not like I said, "Well, hun, they are right and you are wrong." It was more the fact that I wasn't as outraged as my wife about the whole thing that made her think I was taking their side, I think. So take that for what it's worth. Edit 4. Just 'cause it's hilarious that I actually have to address this. But no, I was not implying that just because the baby is IVF or their one shot, that the baby's life is more valuable than a more typical pregnancy baby. I was merely saying that due to those circumstances, I could more easily empathize with my sister-in-law's somewhat extreme, in my opinion, request for vaccination records, which is why it didn't bother me as much as it did my wife. Okay guys, so I think that OP is not the idiot. And I also think he is right thinking his wife is upset not because they are asking for vaccination paperwork in general, but asking them, and they are pretty close. Why wouldn't you just trust your family? So I think sister-in-law is being a little bit extreme, but I also understand her, as she is having a high-risk pregnancy. Sister-in-law is new at this, and she's probably been filling her head with all sorts of insane internet nonsense about the billions of things that can go wrong during a pregnancy. So her neurosis is at least understandable. Also, depending on the flavor of IVF they had, sister-in-law has been pumped full of mega doses of hormones that would make even the chillest person into a wackadoodle. It's like PMS on crack, but with high stakes thrown on top. The truth is that right now it's a mess, because the pregnancy kinda is a bit special, and sister-in-law does not want to endanger her child. But as soon as that kid is born, it's gonna cry and poop just like every other kid. But my gut says that this is gonna blow over maybe 2 months after the kid is born, and sister-in-law will chill the hell out. Or she'll be an insufferably neurotic helicopter parent, at which point OP and his wife have every right to back away slowly and say, "Yeah, you have fun with that." So this probably sounds a bit harsh, but that is mostly why I'm here, to be judged by random strangers on the internet. I will try to keep the backstory short. My mother and my dad had me when she was 19 and he was 22. They had a turbulent and short marriage. It was dysfunctional to say the least, mostly because they only married because of me. They were together for about 4 years before my mother walked out, filed for divorce, and moved on. My dad got full custody, largely because she fully allowed it. I am now 22, doing well in life, and I owe it all to my dad and my grandparents from father's side. They were always there for me. My dad worked his butt off his entire life to provide for me. He is pretty much the perfect father in a lot of ways, and I love him very, very dearly. My mother, on the other hand, last I heard from her was when I was 12, when I received a birthday card from her with a picture of her new family. Now imagine barely remembering your mother and receiving a birthday card with a picture of the person who was supposed to be your mother, looking happy, surrounded by strangers, and 2 little girls in her and her husband's arms. I'll admit, I always pretended it did not bother me, but it crushed me inside and led me to act out during my early teens. Luckily, my dad was there to get me back on track. I forgot about them more or less. I pretty much realized that at the end of the day, I simply did not have a mother. I had my dad, who was in essence both my mom and my dad, and I had my grandparents to pick up the slack where my dad couldn't. 2 days ago, I got a message on a social media account from one of my half-sisters. She sent me a long message in which she told me her name, how old she was, 17, how old her sister is, 15, and that they had known about me all along, but never quite knew how to approach me. But that she really, really wanted to meet her brother, me, and that her mother also wanted to get back in touch with me, and some sob story about how their mom would always cry about me on my birthday. She started telling me about her life, her family. Basically, the message was really, really long. Well, I figured since she couldn't help what happened, and since she was not to blame, I would at least properly respond to her, which I did. I introduced myself, told her how old I am, told her what I was studying and what I did as a job on the side, about my dad, my grandparents, and so forth, just to at least give her a little look inside my life so she could end her attempt to get to know me and get some closure. I ended the message by making it clear to her that I resented my mother and that she should not cry about losing me, given she signed me away to my dad without a moment of doubt, and that I was sorry I never got to meet them, my half-sisters. But I had no interest in getting to know them now or be a part of their lives, and I especially had no interest in knowing my mother, and as far as I was concerned, she could go kick rocks. So, am I the idiot? Well, guys, I really felt sorry for OP reading this. It must be hard and heartbreaking being abandoned by your own mother. So I don't blame OP at all for not wanting to have contact with his mother and even sisters, to be honest. I think seeing them would be a constant reminder to OP about his mother abandoning him. I think OP is just trying to avoid drama and is afraid to be hurt again. Do you agree with me, guys? Backstory. I worked at a small, locally and family-owned business. I worked there for 2 years, was one of 6 employees, 3 of which were the owner's daughters. Up until yesterday, I was on very good terms with the family. Since it's the holidays, I was the only employee that wasn't going to be out of town. They had a family reunion on the other side of the country, and the mother was going to fly there on Wednesday, leaving me to work a solo shift that day. The mother, my manager, promised me she'd pay me time and a half because she appreciated that I was going to work there all day. I was working the closing shift a few nights ago, so I was the only one there. I normally do a fine job at closing, except this time I accidentally left the keys in the front door when I locked up. It definitely could have been very bad if someone had broken in, and I hadn't made any mistakes like this up until then. I was woken up early yesterday morning by my furious manager, who told me to come in right away to have a talk. I was near crying when I went in because I felt so bad. I apologized profusely over and over, but my manager cut me off and told me, "You need to work your shifts today and tomorrow, but after that, I want you out of here. You're fired." I was shocked, to say the least, when she told me this. And on top of that, she took back her offer of paying me time and a half for working Wednesday. I thought, how dare she be so callous over this? I totally understand that this was a horrible mistake, but to just fire me with no warning after I've been such a loyal employee to her is completely ridiculous. I felt completely screwed over, and so I told her, since you're ducking me over, I'll duck you over too. I'm quitting. And I walked out with her screaming at me. If she's going to take my job away like this, I'm going to duck up her Thanksgiving vacation. She called me a couple of times, one of which she was crying and trying to offer me my job back. I told her to go duck herself. After all I've done for them, and for her to just fire me out of the blue, I'm not going back. And I'm pretty sure she saw this as a reason to fire me so she could save money on payroll, since business has been slow. So now I'm out of a job, and she doesn't get to go to her family reunion because she'll be working. I told this to my older sister, thinking she'd be happy for me for sticking up for myself. But she told me I'm an idiot over this. In retrospect, I do feel a bit bad, but I don't entirely regret what I did. So am I the idiot in this situation? Edit. I've been spending Thanksgiving with my fam, trying to get my mind off of what happened a few days ago. I'm going to start looking for new jobs tomorrow. I've been working on my resume in the meantime. Oh, and for those wondering, I have not heard anything from manager or from the rest of the family, and likely won't. Wow, guys, I was laughing so hard at this. You go, girl. It's one of the best revenge stories I've ever heard. OP is definitely not the idiot, but the owner of the shop is a big one. Maybe this will teach the shop owner to be more respectful with her employees. Hopefully.